Okay, good morning. Well, let me fix myself. Sorry. So it's part 2 today. Okay. So I left off where we were doing fine in the apartment and then something happened. So what happened was unemployment, what I didn't know was not giving me extra money, but taking extra money out of my unemployment. So my unemployment actually went away faster than what I thought it was. And I end up running out. So I was like, crap. And I wasn't even looking for a job. Like, I was just living life, like I said, on unemployment. Man, they got all those people pulled over. What is going on? That's crazy. Anyway, so I started looking for a job. So I end up getting a job at this place that they marketed their job in the description definitely different than what it was. So I went there, did the interview, got hired. It was for a little company. Literally 4 people worked there. And my job was supposed to be a data analyst. Baby, when I say that wasn't it, I was basically just doing stuff. Excuse my language. Sorry, Logan. I was basically just doing stuff that he didn't want to do. Like, he didn't want to do this Excel spreadsheet. He just gave it to me. Like, I wasn't doing my actual job, which irritated me. Oh my God. Wait till I get into depth about him in this story. So when I started, I'm like, okay, maybe I can get some money. Like, oh, mind you, I was making $12 an hour. Baby, okay. We didn't, whatever. And I was just overwhelmed, and I was just like, my bills was like swarming over me. Like, I couldn't even afford daycare. $12 an hour. But I took it because I needed the money. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to just work here because I had weekends off and I was able to get off on time to pick my kids up. But I was just going to work here until I really found what I was looking for. So I needed the job. I needed something, very much something. So I worked there, and I asked him, I said, so, I didn't even ask before I got hired because that's how bad I needed a job. I was like, any benefits? Do you get any health benefits? Do you get anything? He's like, no. I was like, oh, okay. So I make $12 an hour and I get nothing. Then he made me wait a month to get paid. Oh, and I said, how can somebody come to work for a month and not get paid? But you know what I did? I went to work for a month and did not get paid because I was still looking for a job. And it was still pandemic time, beginning pandemic too, remember? So businesses were, doing everything from home and everything. It was a mess. So it got to the point where now we're at the house because I have not gotten paid for a month. We were in the dark. We could not cook because in Houston, majority apartments have electric stoves. So we couldn't cook. We couldn't eat. I had to buy food. this was stressful. Yeah, so the lights were off. We were in the house. And with the lights being off, there's no hot water. So, I mean, we was thugging it out. But we would go to my grandma. My grandma lived here. My sister lives here too. But that's another story. So we would go to my grandma's house to like shower. And if I really needed to cook, I would just go over her house to cook. But I couldn't really drive that much because I didn't have any gas because I couldn't get paid. Right? And it got to a point where I could not keep asking people for money. Like, I was just, it was hard. So I was just depressed. I was sad. I felt like I failed my kids. Like, my whole thing as a mom is, and people hear me say this all the time, is my kids' comfortability. Like, I don't give a freak what I got going on as long as my kids are comfortable in their situation. Like where we're at now, like I ask, them all the time, are y'all comfortable? Are y'all comfortable? Are y'all happy here? Because if it's not about just my happiness, it's about y'all's. You know what I'm saying? So my kids were so uncomfortable, but my kids are so humble. They're like, it didn't even bother them, but it was bothering me that it didn't bother them as much as I felt like it should bother them. So, I mean, it got to the point where we had no choice but to leave. So I sent a message to the girl's apartment that I was staying in, and I just told her, like, look, I can't afford this rent. I was really trying. Like, I felt bad enough to even like send her that text message because I know how that feels. You lend somebody your space and you trust them or whatever. Man, I felt bad, but I was just like, I can't. And then when I like, mind you, in the meantime, we still had nowhere else to go. Like, so I can't afford the rent that we're staying at, and I'm afraid I come home every day like begging and praying that they have not locked us out, because they had key fobs, so like they didn't have to come put a lock on the door. They could just lock us out. So I was just like praying every time, like, can we get in the house? 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 So and it was sad because I would leave my kids in the car first, and I would go check to see if we can get in the house. And we were still able to get in the house. They didn't lock us out, thank God. But we were in there in the dark. But we were sleeping together. We were loving on each other like it wasn't nothing. I had bought 1 million candles from Dollar Tree. $1.25 treat now. But yeah, so then I had this conversation with my mom. And my mom lives in Chicago. So I'm from Chicago. Most of my family is in Chicago. Actually, all of my family is in Chicago. So I was talking to my mom, and she came up with something that changed my entire life. And if it wasn't for my mom, my life would not have changed. I kid you not. It was crazy. So, but that's gonna be part 3, because that changed my life. So here in this part 2 was just it. I was working for this man who was extremely racist. He did not like black people. He was a Hispanic man, and he treated me like crap. And I felt like I was working in a prison. And the job was ridiculous. Like, he told me he caught me on camera being on my phone on Instagram. Baby, I don't even get on Instagram like that. It was just, then he told me, I told him, I cannot lock my phone up. I have children. And Zeta had just had surgery and everything, so I was like, I definitely can't lock my phone up. So he was just like, oh, they have to call the office line. Mind you, he listens to the conversation on the office lines. I mean, he was crazy. Like, he was crazy. And when he fired me, I was just like, oh, thank God. Like, I'm glad you let me go. Because honestly, if you did not let me go, I would have still been there. Thank God. But I'm going to get more in depth in him letting me go in part 3. Because part 3 is where I changed my life.